I only meant to go for a beach walk. It was one of those rare evenings where everything felt perfect. The air crisp with salt, the tide rolling in smooth, and the sky bleeding orange and gold as the sun slid down behind the horizon. I'd parked miles back and followed the trail until the dunes opened up to a wide, secluded stretch of coastline. There wasn't a soul around, just sand, wind, and the endless violent rhythm of the ocean. The sea here isn't for swimming. Locals say the current will rip you out before you can scream. I kept my distance, content to walk the line between wet and dry sand, feeling the cool spray brush against my face. That's when I saw it. The ship. It loomed like a ghost out of the misty light. A massive, rust-eaten thing lodged half in the sea, half on the rocks. Its bow had crashed up onto the jagged shore long ago. Judging by the corrosion, it must have been here for decades. Paint peeled from its hull in long, curling flakes. Waves slammed against its midsection, like nature still hadn't accepted its defeat. I don't know what drew me closer. Maybe the mystery. Maybe the isolation. Climbing up wasn't too hard. The bow section was tilted enough, and jagged rocks had made a kind of natural stairway. My boots slipped a little on the rusted steel, but adrenaline steadied my hands. The deck was mostly intact, covered in sand, broken cable, and rotting wood. Wind whistled through the gaps in the structure, singing strange high-pitched notes that made the hairs on my neck stand. I wandered toward the middle of the ship, past crumbling handrails and decaying equipment, until I spotted a metal door half open. It looked absurdly heavy, like it once required machinery or serious muscle to move. But it had been wedged open by time and tide, held there by rust, and just the right balance of neglect. I peered inside. Dark. Damp. The smell of rot, metal, and something else, something organic and wrong, rose up to meet me. Still, curiosity overrode hesitation. I took out my phone and turned on the flashlight. Just a quick look, I thought. Nothing serious. Just want to see what it's like inside one of these old wrecks. I stepped in. The corridor beyond the door sloped slightly downward. Bits of broken pipe and debris littered the floor. Faint outlines of machinery or shelving rusted to ruin filled the shadows. I took maybe 10 cautious steps in, and then came the slam. The door behind me shut so violently it shook the ship. I froze. My heart flipped sideways in my chest. Maybe it was the tide. A strong wave crashing just right. I ran back and pushed on the door. Nothing. It didn't even budge. It felt like the sea had leaned against it and decided I wasn't allowed to leave. I tried again. Nothing. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone. No service. I raised it higher, moved toward the walls, back toward the door. Nothing. No line. God. I remembered outside the ship the phone line was not great, but was reasonable. Now, none. I was trapped, and the light outside was fading fast. Panic hit in slow waves at first. Shallow breathing, cold sweat. I told myself I'd be fine. I'd just wait for the tide to go down. Maybe someone would walk the beach. Maybe the door would shift again on its own. But as the light dimmed, so did my hope. Soon, darkness swallowed everything. My phone flashlight was the only thing keeping my sanity intact. The air inside the ship turned foul and humid. Every creak of metal, every groan from the waves outside, echoed through the belly of the wreck, like ghosts were dragging chains. Then came the sounds. Small metallic clinks, scratching, water dripping from somewhere unseen. My imagination filled in, things best left unspoken. Hours passed. Hunger set in. then thirst, and fear grew heavier, clinging to my back like a second skin. I tried the door again and again, kicked it, rammed it with my shoulder. Nothing. The metal groaned, but didn't give. I yelled, hoping someone, anyone, was walking that stretch of beach. But the roar of the ocean outside was a constant drum that drowning everything out. At some point, I don't know when, I started to laugh. Just a little, under my breath. The absurdity. A beach walk turned survival horror. Then I stopped, because that kind of laugh felt too close to the edge. I sat near the door and just rested. I can't see much, and the only source of light was my phone. I needed to save the battery power. When light finally came, it wasn't much. Just thin shafts piercing through holes in the ship's hull. But it gave me something I hadn't had all night: direction. I moved toward the faintest glow near the far end of the corridor, careful not to slip on the slick floor. The light shimmered slightly, and I realized it was reflecting off water. Stale, oily water that had pooled inside the lower decks. I edged closer. Then the rusted metal beneath my feet gave way, and I plunged down. The cold hit me like a punch to the lungs. The water was thick with grease, the smell of old engine oil and decay gagging. I kicked hard, panicking, reaching for anything to grab onto. Somehow I found a broken pipe and pulled myself up, coughing and shivering, covered in sludge. I scraped my way toward the glow, toward the source of the light. Luckily, my phone was still functioning. It was a hole, small, no bigger than a bottle cap, punched through the hull from corrosion or past storms. Barely enough to fit a thumb through, but light was coming through, and air. That meant I was close to the outside. I took a moment to wipe oil from my hands, blinking back tears. Then I looked around with my flashlight, searching for anything I could use. That's when I saw it. A shard of metal, thick and blunt, maybe a piece of old piping. I grabbed it and crawled to the hole. Then, for what felt like an eternity, I pounded. I struck the rusted hull again and again, widening the hole bit by bit. My hands blistered, my shoulders screamed. But I kept going. Eventually, it was wide enough for me to press my phone up against it, just barely sticking the top outside the wreck. I held my breath and hit the screen. One bar, a signal. Weak, flickering, but real. I dialed emergency services. It dropped. I tried again. This time, it connected. The call barely lasted 15 seconds before the signal cut. I shouted my name, my location, the ship, the beach. Then the line went dead, but I'd said enough. It took them nearly 4 hours to find me. I heard their voices before I saw them. The sound of boots on sand, radios crackling. Then hands pried open the sealed door with crowbars and grinders. The rush of fresh air nearly dropped me to my knees. A paramedic wrapped me in a blanket and handed me a bottle of water. My hands were shaking too hard to hold it. "You're lucky," one of them said, glancing back at the hulking wreck behind us. "No one ever comes down this stretch. Could have taken days if you hadn't gotten that call out." I nodded. Didn't say much. We were on a road trip along the coast when someone told us about a strange shipwreck nearby. An old cargo ship, rusted and broken, stuck on the beach since the 1980s. No one knew where it came from, and it just appeared on the shore one day after a storm. A real ghost ship, it seems. People called it the Iron Widow. It sounded creepy, but I had to see it. The ship looked massive in person, half buried in sand, leaning at an angle, like it had crashed into the shore and never left. Rust covered every inch. It looked like it had been forgotten by time. My friends were too creeped out to follow. I grabbed my 10,000 lumen flashlight. "I'll be back in 10 minutes, I told them. They stayed by the car while I climbed up the side, using broken metal and rocks like a ladder. The top deck was silent. Not just quiet, completely still. No birds, no wind, no sound except for waves in the distance as it was low tide. I stepped carefully. The metal creaked under my weight. I walked along the tilted deck, past broken railings and smashed windows. Then I found a hallway going into the ship. It was dark inside. My flashlight pierced through the darkness like hot knife on a butter. That was when I heard it. A loud clang. Metal hitting metal. I stopped. "Hello?" I called. "Is someone in here?" No answer. Then I heard soft footsteps, wet, slapping on the floor like bare feet. I turned and shined my light. The hallway was empty, but the air changed. It smelled bad now, like something sweet and rotten. Then, a whisper, right behind me. I spun around again, but no one was there. By now, all my enthusiasm to explore further has gone. I wanted to leave, but the hallway behind me had changed. At least it seemed like that. The way I came in was gone now. It was just more dark hallways. I started walking fast, trying to find a way out. Each hallway looked worse than the last. More rust, more rot. Some doors looked like they were melting. I was starting to panic. Even with this bright flashlight, it's getting harder to find way out. That's when I saw her. A woman, standing at the end of the hall. Her back was to me. She wore a long white dress, soaked and clinging to her body. Her hair was dripping wet. I froze. This cannot be good. And the worst part, when she turned around. Her eyes were white like she did not have pupils. Her mouth hung open. Dark water dripped from it. The kind of things you only see in movies. I even rubbed my eyes once in disbelief. She slowly raised one hand and pointed behind me. I turned and saw shadows coming. Some crawling, limping, dragging across the floor, dozens of them. Like all the ghosts were invited for a party. I ran. I don't remember much after that. Just running through endless hallways, doors slamming, my flashlight flickering, that smell getting stronger. I felt lost. No way out. The way I came in seems disappeared. Then I heard something, far away. A voice calling me, "Jack!" It was my friend, yelling my name. "Jack! Where are you, bro?" Another voice joined in. They were outside the ship, looking for me. Their voices cut through the darkness like a beam of light. I followed the sound, running toward it, tripping, slipping, pushing through old doors. "Jack!" Closer now. I found a broken hatch, kicked it open and climbed out onto the tilted deck. The sky was turning orange. I saw them at the side of the ship hull, waving their arms. I jumped down into the sand and ran to them. "What the hell happened?" one of them asked. "You were gone for over 30 minutes, another said. "We thought something happened to you." I couldn't speak for a moment. I was out of breath. My heart felt like it might explode. And I felt I was in the ship, only for a while. I turned to look back at the ship. Silent. Still.